Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulihil Kareem. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma aftah alayna hikmataka wanshur alayna rahmataka ya zal jalali wal ikram. In this video, inshallah, we would continue with word-to-word analysis of Surah Fatiha. And so far, we have done up till the third ayat, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. And today, inshallah, in this session, we are going to study the fourth ayah, Maliki Yawmiddin. So let's start. And as you know, this Daura-e Quran that we are doing together is I named it Tazkeer Bil Quran. So because our main focus is to understand the message of Quran with word-to-word analysis, and then apply its message, apply these teachings in our practical life. That's why it's Tazkeer Bil Quran. So so far, Alhamdulillah, we have done the first ayat. Some, as I earlier mentioned, that the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, some of us they regard Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim as the first ayah of Surah Fatiha, and some do not. So regardless, we, Alhamdulillah, we did the word analysis of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and then the second one, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and the third one. And today we are going to understand the third and the fourth ayat. So this one we already did in our last two sessions, these two ayat. And we did a comprehensive study of our these two sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. And now we are moving on to the fourth ayat. As you can see over here, the fourth ayat, which is Maliki Yawmiddin, actually grammatically is the continuation of the second ayat. The surah starts with if we consider that the surah Fatiha starts with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So Alhamdulillah is the first sentence, and in which Alhamdu is the mubtada, the subject of the sentence, and Lillahi is the khabar mahzoof, jar majroor, muta'alliq khabar mahzoof, and then Rabbil Alameen is coming as the sifa or adjective of Allah, Ismi Jalala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over here. So this is the first adjective or the first sifa or first naat of Ismi Jalala, Allahi in over here. And then the Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim again coming as adjective, and the fourth ayah, which is Maliki Yawmiddin. This ayah, Maliki Yawmiddin, Master of the Day of Judgment, is also going back to the Isma Jalala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over here in the second ayah. So this is the third time adjective coming for the Isma Jalala over here. And at the moment, I would like to add here that the ayat we see in the Quran, like the number of ayat, one ayat not necessarily is a complete sentence. So we should not look for a completeness of, we should not expect that the sentence would complete at the end of the ayat. So just like in Surah Asr, we see Wal Asri is one ayah, and it's just a phrase, like it's a qasam, it's an oath, but it's just one word. The same way, Surah Baqarah, we have Alif Lam Mim. That's also one ayah. So for when we study Quran, we do, if we see an ayah, it doesn't mean that an ayah is a sentence. So an ayah can be just one or two word, a combination of two words, or it can be a phrase, or it can be sometimes, yes, it can be a complete sentence. So Maliki Yawmiddin is coming as the sifa or adjective or clarifier of Allah, Ismi Jalala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over here. So the fourth ayah, Maliki Yawmiddin, is has two idafa back to back. Like if we go study the Arabic grammar, so it has two idafa. Idafa is a fragment in combination of two ism have combined in a relationship of ownership, or one is the owner, the other one is the ism owned. So Maliki Yawmiddin. Maliki Yawmi is one combination, which means master of the day, and then Yawmiddin, another combination, another idafa, which means the day of judgment. So two idafa back to back, and both referring back to Ism Jalala in ayat number 2. And this whole ayat is coming as the sifa of Ism Jalala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have two important words in this ayah, Malik and Ad-Din. So Malik, the word Malik has root word having three letters, Mim, Lam, and Kaf. Malik means, as we know, that someone who owns or possesses or has authority over something. So it Malik is master or possessor or proprietor. So Maliki Yawmiddin, owner of the day of judgment, or master of the day of judgment. And Deen is coming from the word, like three root letters that we see in Deen are the Dal, Ya, and Noon. And there are three meanings we can see over here. If it's coming with, as we see, it's coming as from Daraba family, Dana Yadinu Dainan. So to owe, or to owe money, or to lend money, to borrow money, right? Then we can see another meaning from the dictionary, and it is from think Hansfair. Yes, this is from Hansfair. So Dana Yadinu Dinan. The second meaning we see is Dana Yadinu Dinan wa Diyanatan. Dinan and Diyanatan, these are masdar, and Dana Yadinu, past tense and present tense. To be religious, be a believer. And the third meaning that we see is to requite, or to reward, or to deliver judgment. So most of the meaning that is coming from Maliki, in Maliki Yawmiddin, it's coming from the third one, the day of requittance, or the day of judgment, the day on which judgment will be, the final judgment would be there. There are other like dain. Dain is singular and the yun is plural, and the yun is debt, liability, obligation, financial claim. And the second meaning that we see in Hanswehr is to profess a religion, or to profess a conviction. And another meaning that is there, the same way, like this one is from another dictionary, and this one is from Hanswehr. So the first one, as we saw obligation, liability, financial claim. And the second meaning we can see over here is to profess a religion, or to profess a conviction, or to adhere to one's custom. So, and the third one that we can see is the day of judgment. So on the whole, Maliki Yawmiddin is the owner or the master of the day of judgment, and it is there to clarify as the adjective of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Fatiha, which is the first surah of Quran, and it is the introductory surah. So right from the very beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in Surah Fatiha is there is an introduction to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If as a reader of Quran, if someone opens up the Quran and reads the first surah, so he or she would find a brief, very brief, but concise introduction in Surah Fatiha, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the master of the Rabbil Alameen, master of all the worlds, all the possible worlds, and then Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, the most beneficent, the always merciful. And then in Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, there is Rahma, like love, care, mercy, as we just studied in the previous session. And just after that, we see Maliki Yawmiddin, like on one hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful, loving, and caring. His rahmah is immense, but at the same time, on the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the day of judgment. So on the day of judgment, not only the reward would be there, but if someone does something wrong, there would be punishment also. So reward and punishment both. So that's so this is a brief study of word-to-word study of this surah, this fourth ayat. And now let's as a second step, let's see what lessons we can derive from this ayah. So this ayah emphasizes that the one we turn to in our prayer is the master of the day of judgment. So we recite Surah Fatiha in every prayer, and we say this this ayah almost 17 to 48 times in a day. Like if we just do If we just do fard prayer, count just fard prayer, then it's 17 times. And if we do all sunnah and nafil prayer, then 48 times we recite Surah Fatiha. So we recite this ayah almost 17 to 48 times, and we turn to the master of the day of judgment. So who else could be a better resource to turn to for guidance? So we seek guidance as we recite Surah Fatiha, and we are seeking guidance from the owner of the day of judgment. So for example, if we take an example like we are going to take an exam, and we are preparing for an exam. So if we follow the book published by the same institution who is making the exam, who is making the exam paper, and we follow the book or the guide that the same institution has released for exam preparation. So obviously it makes sense. So we are turning to master of the day of judgment. Who is the owner? Who is the proprietor? Who is in all authority on the day of judgment? So we are turning for guidance to the same authority, the owner of the day of judgment. And this ayah also it kind of shake us or remind us that do we really believe that the day of judgment is inevitable, like in our dealings, in our day-to-day activity, and the way we deal with others. Like, are we fair in our dealing, and are we do we treat others the way we treat ourselves? So something like that, like, and our deeds, do our deeds practically demonstrate our belief in the day of judgment? Though we constantly reiterate that each and every individual would return back to him for his final judgment, like verbally we say it, but our deeds, our dealings should also reflect this reality. In ayah number 3, we are given hope that our master is most merciful, most beneficent. Yes, like in ayat number 3, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This ayah gives us hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most merciful, most beneficent. But because it's a brief and very short, brief, but comprehensive introduction to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in one ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that he is most merciful, most beneficent, but in the very next ayah, we are reminded at the same time that there is going to be a final day of retribution. So on one hand, we should be optimistic in calling our master for help, but also remain watchful for our deeds, our own deeds, as we would be responsible for all our deeds on the day of judgment in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is these are the lessons that we can derive from this ayah. So this ayah, like as we recite in our prayer, should keep us on our toes. Like this, not only just by saying that there's a day of judgment, we should demonstrate. We should show, like we should keep on watchful what we are doing and how we are dealing with. Are we merciful to our other human beings? Are we helpful? Are we considerate to our family members, our friends, and other person that come into contact with us, like in our offices or at home? So the way we expect mercy and fair mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are we ourselves merciful to our fellow humans? So these are some lessons that we can derive.